An 18-year-old will spend at least 10 years in prison for beating a man that even the defense attorney described as coming close to murder.
It is a shocking case of an unsuspecting victim being lured into an assault. Mike McKnight first told us the story earlier this year, and tonight follows up with the sentence handed down.
From intensive care in January, Chris Peters remembered little about being beaten.
I could have been killed.
But in court Wednesday, he learned a lot about the young man who attacked him.
Bragging about almost killing me. I was boiling mad.
The prosecutor says 18-year-old Jonathan Love Lucas lured the victim to a northwest Omaha street with an online blind date post.
I don't think she even did exist. I think it was just him pretending to be a girl.
To lure you?
To lure me, yeah.
Love Lucas attacked Chris with a crowbar and beer stein, then carjacked him. The badly beaten victim stuffed in his own Durango and dumped several miles away, barely managing to call 911.
And it should have been attempted murder, premeditated, a lot more than just kidnapping and theft. There should have been a lot more charges dropped on top of that.
The carjacking, considered a robbery, and kidnapping convictions got Love Lucas prison sentences of 20 to 25 years each, but served concurrently. So the prosecutor tells the victim and his family that with good time, 10 to 12 years is likely what he'll serve.
A little bit of mixed feelings, anger, sadness, disappointment.
In court, the defense attorney told the judge his client is remorseful, but the prosecutor says Love Lucas attacked the victim because he was bored and texted out video of the crime scene.
I tried to take you, the viewer, inside the courtroom to witness the sentencing, but Judge Russell Bowie denied my request for expanded media coverage and a camera in the courtroom, saying it would interfere with the rights of the defendant.
The defense attorney's motion argued that Love Lucas is under 19 years old, and a camera in the courtroom may also cause embarrassment for the victim, Chris Peters.
I would not have been embarrassed. No.
Outside the courtroom in a public hallway, my camera is allowed to show Jonathan Love Lucas on the way to starting a prison sentence.
Anything you want to say? Sorry? Anything?
On your side at the Douglas County Courthouse, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
Chris Peters says the beating knocked out 6 of his teeth and he may need no surgery. His insurance deductibles will likely cost him $8,000 out of pocket, so a GoFundMe page is being set up to help with the medical expenses.